It was raining heavily outside. Only one man with a bottle of alcohol was walking around town, drinking away his sadness. It was his worst day in his entire life. In the afternoon, he was fired by the director of the company, saying that he was the ultimate trash that no one wanted. That day, he realized how damn right his principal was, which made him pour even more alcohol into his sadness. Slowly but surely, he walked to his home. He was so preoccupied with his thoughts that he didn't even pay attention to his surroundings, such as the red light at the traffic light. The huge truck, of course, failed to brake in time, and unfortunately still rammed into him at full speed. As he fell to the ground, his whole life flashed before his eyes. He remembered how his wife had recently left him for a rich man because he had no house of his own, no car, no money. Only an idiot would marry him. Lying on the wet pavement, in the last seconds of his life, he realized a very important thought. This was not the life he wanted. Someone above heard him and decided to give this guy a chance. So his soul was reborn in the depths of the settlement. For 3 days in a row now, in the Huayang Mountains, a man's body has been lying dying. This body, named Feng, was cared for by his brother, who never gave up hope and fought for his brother's life to the last. He was already on edge as he was useless without him, and wanted to get his hands on himself if suddenly his brother didn't survive. Just as suddenly, Feng's hand began to move slightly, and then he opened his eyes and ordered his brother to shut up, for his broken voice was killing him. His brother couldn't believe the miracle and immediately started shaking and hugging Feng. He even started sobbing out of joy. He hugged him so hard that Feng turned blue. After hitting Feng, the brother came to his senses. He also promised that if Feng died, he would find those bastards and fight them until he died. Then it dawned on Feng that he wasn't dead and was in some other body altogether. He turned toward his brother and asked who the hell he was. Mengshan didn't understand how he could forget his own brother, and began to blame it all on Ai Qiandao, who had hit Feng too hard. After saying that, it was as if Feng had a flashback. He started to remember this body's past. This body turned out to have a very strong cultivation and martial arts spirit. Spirit martial arts dimension, prioritized for martial artists who want to cultivate qi. Skilled martial artists can flatten mountains and create new lands. As a 10-year-old orphan, Lei Feng joins the Huayang sect. There are kingdoms of perfection in this world. The realm of spirit, the realm of the spirit of earth, the realm of the spirit of heaven, the realm of the great spirit and above. When Lin Feng was about to break through to the earth spirit realm, he fell into the evil plots of humans. Since then, he had become a talentless disciple without any thought. Feng discovered all of these memories, and so he ordered brother Mengshan to stop crying. Although he was unaccustomed to the body of a 17-year-old boy, he was still starting to like this life more than the past one. Mengshan decided to cut to the chase and started treating Feng to fresh buns. Feng himself didn't really appreciate the buns, as they were poisonous to him. Mengshan only laughed a little and told how he had found these buns in the trash, although they weren't a bit dirty, but it was better than an empty stomach. After that, Feng wanted to vomit since this food was already meant for pigs and not humans. After which he smiled and promised that when he had time, he would be sure to find and thank the bastards who had harmed him properly. After a while, he did find normal food and was in much better shape by now. The feeling of being alive is really nice. And he also set the most important goal for himself, which was to reach the spirit realm. After a short walk, he returned to his house. He was curious about one thing. Looking into his memories, he was once level 9 of the spirit realm, but now for some reason, he was at level 2. Mengshan, meanwhile, sat nearby and stuffed his belly with delicious cakes. Lin Feng, on the other hand, decided not to waste any time and began to cultivate. After a few minutes, he managed to make an astral release. His soul flew out of his body and flew to explore. He flew to high altitude. I also noticed a very strange 3 girls. As he did so, he noticed some guy in the bushes who was watching these very girls very intensely. He was like a shadow. He came and went without any noise. Lin Feng found this kid very amusing. While he was eating, he had a thought about the Great Spirit Realm technique, astral liberation. He wanted to figure out how he could still use this technique as correctly as possible, as it suddenly dawned on him that the spirit realm, the earth spirit, the Great Spirit, they are all similar in structure. He had his head so full of it that he didn't even notice he was eating his plate. Even the blood came out of his mouth and his brother thought he'd lost his mind, after which he abruptly stood up and ran out of the house. Mengshan, meanwhile, fell to his knees and began to sob as it was obvious that he could not be saved. Feng climbed up a huge tree and began to cultivate. He was able to swallow the owner of the body due to his 3 spirits and 7 souls being stronger than his 2 spirits and 6 souls. Now he had 8 spirits and souls. That was why, even though he was only at the 2nd level of the spirit realm, he still had the astral sea. He also decided to see what had become of the outer sect disciples' house. As he came closer, he remembered from memory that there was a class system here. As suddenly he saw some shadow moving slowly from one bush to another bush. It was the same kid who peeped on the girls during the day. Lin Feng wondered what he was going to do here in the middle of the night. This kid went to the windows and started looking at the half-naked girls who were sleeping and didn't realize they were being watched. Feng was a bit lost and shocked at what he saw. Lin Feng decided to activate the astral travel technique. There were a lot of women inside the room and they were hot, which made them start getting more and more naked and walking around in just their underwear. What made this guy even happier was that it overstimulated him. Feng, looking at this pervert, decided to teach him a lesson for life. Suddenly he sensed someone else besides him, and after that he himself saw a very quick shadow. The man easily disabled the pervert in a second. Then he quickly opened the doors and got inside. Lin Feng watched these and was shocked when this Huayang sect had time to train perverts. This man approached the girls and offered to go with him to play a little. The girls started squealing with fright and asking who the hell he was. He didn't want any trouble, so ordered him to listen carefully, but he stopped talking abruptly as he smelled a very pleasant aroma. Lin Feng analyzed the situation and came to the point that he would lose if he started fighting him. Therefore, the question of what to do after all crept in. He stunned one of those girls and took one of them on his shoulders and was on his way out. He managed to escape, but Feng decided not to stand idly by and chase out with his astral power. That way, he wouldn't be found. After moving away from that house, the man decided to stop and put the girl on the ground. He was delighted. How beautiful she was after all. 3rd level of the spirit realm, lots of rich qi and most importantly excellent looks. For Lin Feng, who was sitting nearby in the bushes, it was very disgusting to listen and watch everything. Thanks to this beauty, he would be able to obtain qi energy, and he, Sun Huangmeng, would finally be able to ascend to the earth spirit realm today. Lin Feng was disgusted by the fact that the one was actually going to take her yin qi and fill her own yang energy through intercourse. He had already started to get his lips on her as her friend she woke up and started screaming. The man immediately covered her mouth, for she modeled to do it later, and now was a very, very bad time. After that, he decided to get to the best part. Lin Feng was still too weak, but he still needed to think of something rather than just watching it. The pervert, meanwhile, began to get on top of her and kiss her. The girl in turn just remained silent as she realized that she had better listen already, or there could be even worse consequences. At one point she began to smile and the pervert noticed it. It was kind of not even fun for him, since she didn't resist at all. She slowly brought her hand up to his stomach, the palm of her hand wearing a ring that wasn't an ordinary ring, and she shouted loudly, "Die!" The man realized this was obviously not going to end well. He flew away from her with great speed, and everywhere became too light from her technique. The man touched the ground a few times and flew into a tree with great speed. With such a powerful technique, the girl had no strength left, and simply fell to the ground completely. Lin Feng watched from the bushes and didn't understand how the hell happened. While doing so, he noticed that some outer disciple like her had a spatial ring and a secret treasure. The girl meanwhile slowly drew the dagger into her hand. She was very glad that she had the patriarch's secret treasure. Otherwise things could have ended very, very badly. The man was all mangled and bloody. He was very angry with the girl and he wanted to kill her very badly. Lin Feng didn't understand how he didn't die from such a blow, but even stood up and was ready to fight. A secret treasure can't hold that much power, and it can only be used 3 times. And this was the last one. He'd lost his mind, and more than anything he wanted to kill her at that moment. The girl also began to think that this secret treasure was not a very rare item. Otherwise, there was no way he would have gotten up. The man wasn't one of the ordinary guys, and he also had a rare ring. Even though he was severely injured, but still her chi was sealed. He took a strange pill from his pocket and swallowed it. He began to walk slowly towards her. The girl pointed her dagger at him out of desperation and began to back away a little. The man swung around intent on taking her life. She didn't believe she was really destined to die here today. At the last moment, Lin Feng jumped out of the bushes and jumped towards them to protect the girl. The next second, everyone went silent and there was a huge white flash. That is the difference between the 3rd and 9th layer. The pervert only began to laugh. He was amused by this little bastard with only a 3rd layer who dared to interrupt this old man's fun. Lin Feng called him a crazy lunatic who was completely fed up with life since he dared to infiltrate his Huayan sect. This made the pervert laugh even more, and agreed with the bastard, but only added that only the elders he couldn't overpower, and everyone else he could beat like flies. The girl stood up and asked Feng why he came here. Lin Feng turned around to see who was saying this, and seeing such an obscene appearance from the girl, he immediately turned his head around and blushed, while shouting, "I'm not stupid!" The pervert watched it all and still found a weak spot. He immediately threw his technique at her. Lin Feng began to immediately shout, "Beware!" to her, and then it got really messy. Lin Feng immediately bounced back to a safe distance. This was no problem for the pervert, and in a second, he seemed to be in front of Lin Feng, but the latter was quickly able to dodge his attack. Eventually, with his punch, the pervert made a huge hole in the ground. The man knew right away that the bastard was just trying to buy time. Because he's wounded, Lin Feng didn't understand how the latter had guessed so quickly, and realized that he would obviously feel very bad today. The man, meanwhile, took out another pill. He threw it into his mouth. At the same time, he immediately began to feel tremendous strength and power. To Lin Feng, it was unconscionable since no one fights like him. Feng thought the one would fight like a real man. The pervert's hand began to morph into a wolf's paw with huge bones. He didn't care about the bastard's remarks. He just wanted to kill everyone there. Lin Feng only had time to put up a block, but that didn't help him, and the man bypassed his defenses and aimed right at his body. Lin Feng admitted that he still lacked experience. The pervert started licking Lin Fei's blood. He liked the taste very much and wanted more of his blood. Being a former top outer sect disciple was not just a title for show, so Feng decided to give it his best. The perverted man couldn't believe his eyes. He had never seen the third level of the spirit realm have such an amount of qi. It was simply impossible. In his hand, Lin Feng gathered a tremendous amount of strength. The man also gathered the strength in his hand and ran at him. They came into contact with their different strengths, and it was very powerful. But still, Lin Feng couldn't stand it. He was still too weak, and blood came out of his mouth. The man was covered in blood, but he still had plenty of strength. He walked up to Feng and started shouting, "Imperial Blood Demonic Technique!" He then bit his tongue and more blood came from his mouth. It really pissed Feng off that this pervert still had some techniques left in him. He screamed in pain and his entire skin was covered in fire. After a few seconds, he turned completely black, only his eyes glowing like the sun in space. He ran to Feng to deal with him once and for all. In front of Lin Feng, he jumped into the air. The girl was worried about him and asked him to be careful. Feng realized that he wanted to strike from the air. Therefore, he quickly jumped away from that place. But unfortunately for him, it was only an illusion. After which, and from the sky, a huge palm fell on him with great speed. A cheap pervert trick worked, and that palm ended up hitting Feng very hard. The impact was so strong that Lin Feng Aj made a huge gap in the ground. Lin Feng was so lost that he had even already thought that he would die again. The pervert began to slowly approach Feng and decided to teach him a lesson. As he came closer, he grabbed him by his clothes and lifted him up. It really pissed him off that some bastard with a third layer of the spirit realm made him use an imperial blood demonic technique. The man gathered a little strength in his hand and decided to end the game. After which, with all his might, he punched Lin Feng directly into his body. He cried out in pain, and a river of blood spurted from his mouth. The hero could not save the damsel, and he will even die at the hands of the pervert. If he dies again, he decided to ask Buddha to reincarnate him as a Saudi Arabian prince. From such a hard blow, there was a huge explosion in the forest that even the trees began to tear out their roots. As a result, Lin Feng fell face first straight into the ground. The girl began to feel very badly for him. But still, he found himself conscious and even stood up. His first thoughts were what kind of body he was in now. Turning his head to the right, he saw the body of a man lying unconscious on the ground. He didn't understand how he hadn't died from such a very hard blow. The girl sitting next to him also didn't understand how he even survived. Seeing the girl, he became very embarrassed again. Afterward, he looked at his necklace and thought that was the thing that had saved him. It was an item that Lin Fei had gotten when he was at the 9th layer of the spirit realm, having killed a 3rd layer demonic beast in a cave. He never thought that the necklace he took as a souvenir would save his life. The man was lying on the ground completely without any signs of life. Lin Feng was very happy that he had defeated and protected the girl. Next, he walked over to the corpse and removed the ring that helped him stay strong. Now he could heal his wounded body, otherwise he would have chopped it up and fed it to the dogs. The girl looked at him and didn't understand who he was. A gentleman, but pathetic. Lucky, but poor. Next, Lin Feng approached the girl and complimented her that she had a pretty good figure. She turned away from him and asked him not to look at her. Lin Feng didn't really understand the woman's logic, since she had been naked all this time, and there was no need to be embarrassed. The girl, of course, didn't like what he said and called him a pervert. She also warned him that if she saw him peeping, she would gouge out his eyes. Feng looked around a bit and felt that someone else was still here. When he went into the bushes, he saw the corpse of a girl whose clothes were all torn. He immediately realized what was going on here. After that, a girl came to him and was horrified by what had been taken away because it could have been her. In the meantime, she had time to change her clothes. And she together in two carried this girl to the grave and praised her properly. After saying kind words about her, Lin Feng decided to leave, but the girl shouted for him to stop. She asked him if he was really an idiot. Feng only smiled and continued walking onward. The girl realized that this man had suffered abuse and hard times, and so she must take care not to underestimate him. At one point he turned around very abruptly and startled her very much. Out of fear, she even crawled away. But Lin Feng decided to calm her down, saying that if he really wanted to kill, there was no need for him to save her. The girl recognized that he wasn't that stupid after all. At that, she became very embarrassed and blushed. Lin Feng quickly approached her. She had already thought of many things in her head. Except Lin Feng was quite interestingly different. He ordered her to listen to him carefully. He was leaving, and if he ever found out that she had discovered his secret, he would come after her. The girl promised to keep his secret no matter what it cost him. Feng smiled and mentally thanked the fool. When he got home, he was sore all over. But now he had a new ring, and he decided to use it to repair all his wounds. He also decided to get inside this ring and was surprised at how much treasure was hidden inside. He immediately wanted to get it all out, except he didn't expect there to be so much stuff, and it just overwhelmed him. He almost killed himself. There was nothing in that treasure compartment. Everything could be found. Now he was a truly rich man. Also in all that huge treasure pile, he found a cool book that wrote about the 5th grade cultivation of wind style, an ancient scripture. He was overjoyed that at last his luck had returned to him. Out of joy, he started kissing this book, after which he moved on to sorting things. It was difficult and took a long time, but still he finished sorting through these things. There are 2 kinds of currency in the martial arts world. The first is what ordinary people use, which is silver liang, and the second is what martial artists use, which is spiritual crystals. Spiritual crystals are an important aspect for those who want to cultivate. 1 spiritual crystal, 100 silver liang. He now had as much as 1,500 spirit crystals, and he was clearly not poor now. He even began to imagine being introduced as the strongest and richest disciple of the outer sect. Even then, the strongest fighter in the sect received 1 to spirit crystals per month. With the additional bonuses, the total would still not exceed 17 spirit crystals. But the book he found was a real treasure to him. There are a total of 10 levels of martial arts techniques, the highest being level 10, and any martial arts technique above level 7 can be considered legendary. He was very lucky that man wasn't some kind of martial arts expert, and the fact that he would have been defeated several hundred times over if he had been. But when he opened the book and saw the pictures, he realized it was a different book, and he was already thinking of learning this book. Even though she's level 5, he still doesn't want to become a psycho. As he suddenly noticed some strange debris in the treasure compartment. This dagger was pretty heavy and strong, so I decided to keep it. Next, he moved on to strange cones. He assumed chi-gathering pills. The chi-gathering pill is primarily for cultivating the spiritual realm. Taking the pill when moving to the next realm will give a 50% increase in the level of success. He decided to move on to the second flask, but it wouldn't open for some reason, so he decided to do his best to finally open it. He did make it, except the cork popped out of there so fast it even made a hole in the wall. The contents of the flask scared the hell out of him. His heart began to stop little by little and sweat began to flow heavily from his forehead. Without wasting a second, he decided to close this flask as he didn't want to die. When he closed, he had very little strength. His sense of dominance had crippled him badly. He was very pleased when he did close that flask. It was an imperial key pill. Before, when he couldn't break through to the spirit realm, he would have wished he had one of these emperor chi pills. But now he had one. He believed very strongly that he would reach the spirit realm. Afterward, he hid everything he needed back in the ring. At last his days of being poor were over, and it unleashed him very much. That being said, all of this made him very tired, so he went to his crib. The next morning, he felt much better. As he slept, his necklaces began to glow, and when he woke up, he was in some strange place. Looking around, he realized he was being sucked somewhere. I also felt powerless, and there was nothing I could do about it. He was sucked in harder, and finally, he was sucked in. He shouted for help as best he could, hoping someone would hear him. He ended up in a similar place. He assumed that he was in the astral space of the Jade Pendant. But then, there was the question of why his astral body was sucked in. Ahead of him, he saw some incomprehensible thing that shone with all 7 colors of the rainbow. It was a rare jade pendant treasure. He came closer, and already wanted to take the treasure for himself, but it turned out to be small and insolent, and ran away from him. Lin Feng immediately set out to chase after him. In an instant, this treasure unfolded right into Feng. He didn't understand what the fuck was going on. The treasure flew straight into Feng's head. It took him a few seconds to realize what had happened, and afterward he began to scream with fear, for the treasure had not flown into his head before. There was a flicker in his mind. Astral needle, a necessary power for those who live in the earth spirit realm. The first layer needs 1 needle, the second layer needs 5 needles, the third layer needs 10 needles, and the fourth layer needs 20 needles. When mastered, it can attack invisibly and destroy someone's spirit and soul. The astral parts are divided into 2 parts. One part is for the astral needle, and the other for the astral hammer. Clear your mind, embrace spirit and chi, discard distractions, identify the astral needle. After a while, he finally finished. This one had worn him out too much. After the first stage was over, the next step was to exit the astral sea, which he tried to do. He started to manipulate the needle to get out, but she didn't fully listen to him. Even though the needle was small, it left a decent scratch, and it really hurt Feng. After that, he was even more eager to learn how to control it. Meanwhile, in reality, Mengshan's brother walked into his room. He was shocked as some dark flames were coming out of Lin Feng's body, and he didn't know what to do. Mengshan decided that his brother was dead. It had only been 5 days since he'd last seen him. Just as suddenly, it stood up abruptly. Mengshan thought that this was now a zombie, not a human. Lin Feng's first question was, "Why does it stink so badly here?" Mengshan didn't care about the smell. The most important thing for him was to keep his brother alive. But Feng continued to ask about the landfill that gave off such a horrible odor. Except that Mengshan decided to upset his brother by saying that he was the one who smelled so stinky. He asked how he could become so stinky in just 5 days. Except Lin Feng wasn't going to say that he wished for such a thing. Afterwards, the 2 of them went to the lake. In this way, he relaxed and washed himself. After a while, Mengshan offered his brother a snack. He was very hungry, so he immediately jumped out of the lake, got dressed, and went to eat fresh rolls. In a matter of minutes, he ate a basket full of buns. This was a record even for Mengshan. Lin Feng only laughed and said that he just hadn't eaten for 5 whole days. Mengshan began to smile at his brother, for he was a real looker after he had washed himself. These words really embarrassed Feng, as he thought his brother was gay since he was saying such words to another man. Mengshan didn't know who gay was, so he asked for an explanation. Of course he didn't know, because the word had been invented in Lin Feng's previous life. So he explained to him that it's when one man is gay with another man. While they were talking, some 3 guys came up to them. Mengshan immediately realized that this was not for the good, and Lin Feng stared at these guys in anticipation of the battle. The main one of those guys saw Feng staring at him and promised to gouge his eyes out if he didn't stop staring at him like that. It was Li Bao Kai, a rich outer disciple who had yet to enter the outer sect, and his 2 dogs. Tsai was approached by one of his boyfriends who really wanted to tease the idiot. Mengshan realized that he smelled something fried and asked his brother to go home with him. Feng didn't understand why he was in such a hurry. Li Bao Tsai heard what they were talking about and of course didn't want to let them go. Mengshan began to tell how Feng had recently just recovered from his illness and asked to let them go this time. Li Bao Tsai didn't want to listen to him and just pushed him. And afterward, one of Tsai's boys decided to explain to him that if he crawled through their legs and called them Grandpa 3 times, then they would let them go. Then the 3 of them stood in a column and spread their legs so he could crawl between them. It really pissed Feng off, and the way these freaks acted around others. Mengshan asked Tsai to let Feng go, and in return he would become his servant for a month. Li Bao Tsai only laughed and slapped him. He wanted a cheerful, boring servant in return. This had crossed the line by now, and Feng, who was angry, entered the conversation. They only laughed and didn't take him seriously. Since Feng had already had enough, he thought it was time to stretch out a bit. Mengshan began to discourage him and ask him not to do something stupid. Except Feng was already unstoppable. A real man doesn't hide himself when it's time to act a little impulsively. Lin Feng started warming up right in front of them so as not to pull a muscle. Che didn't understand what this idiot was doing, after which Feng quickly ran at them. In 1 second, he ran beside the 2 guys and slapped them each. Lin Feng didn't like the fact that they were just a bunch of lapdogs, as well as overly arrogant freaks. He didn't care about them so much that he even allowed all three of them to attack him at once and not waste his precious time. This finally pissed off the two guys, and they decided to beat him up together since he was asking for it. After that, the real fight began. Kie stood beside him and didn't understand how this bastard was able to become so strong, since he was able to repel the guy's blows. They tried to do some damage to Feng, but nothing worked. On the contrary, it was to Feng's advantage, as he just needed someone to taste his new abilities. He summoned his needle and began to play with it, and try to make contact with it. He had only made a couple of scratches, and they were already in pain and lying on the ground. Feng decided to add charcoal to the fire, and added that he had only shown a fraction of his power, so they should realize who they were messing with. Little brother didn't understand when it was that Feng had become so strong and unflappable. The two guys even got scared already when he started to approach them, and started threatening their brother Tsai, who would never forgive him. Except Feng didn't care about anyone. He only heard too many words, so he decided to beat them up with all his might that even their mothers wouldn't recognize them. He ended up kicking one of the guys with his foot just like a soccer ball. Kei didn't understand how this could even be. Meng Shan ran up to his brother and began to question where he got his strength and courage from, and only began to guess that he had regained his strength. Feng asked Meng Shanyu to shut up and decided that it wouldn't be enough to dilute the two cockroaches. Xie realized that it was about him and started to quietly run away, but Feng quickly stopped him. Xie didn't obey him and wanted to leave voluntarily because he was fed up with him. Feng was a little upset, as he had hoped that he would stay and play with him for a while. Qiayi didn't wait for him to attack and use the fierce tiger technique. Meng Shan began to worry about his brother when he saw such a powerful technique. Feng in turn wasn't even surprised or frightened. He simply repelled his attack with ease, only moving slightly. Xie didn't realize what was happening as he felt an intense pain in his head. To Feng, it was still just a worthless bastard. He stepped closer to him and twisted his arm as if it were a rag. Kei didn't realize what was happening as he couldn't feel his hand now. He had never seen such magic before. And next, Fen decided to remind him of his condition and made him crawl through his legs, or he wouldn't leave alive. It was a great humiliation to him, and of course he refused to do the dishonor. Feng decided to remind what position he was in, and stabbed his hand with his fingers until it was bloody. Chie in turn screamed in pain and begged him to let go of his arm. Meng Shan entered the conversation and asked to be let go, as he was already badly injured. Lin Feng didn't mind making him a happy day, and let him go while tossing him like a tennis ball. Feng warned him that if he saw him again, he would kill him and no one would help him. The two boys ran up to Tsai and fled with him towards the village. Lin Feng also decided to admonish his brother, and told him that mercy and enemies is harshness towards oneself. In this ruthless world, enemies will be cruel, and there will have to be a dozen times more payback, or those who suffer will be themselves. Meng Shan only laughed as he couldn't be as ruthless as others. But today was the most refreshing day. Something felt Da all these years, for as long as he had been alive. In the end, he thanked Lin Feng's brother for protecting him. He only smiled awkwardly and reminded him that they were brothers after all. After which, they went to lay low so that people wouldn't have any second thoughts since he hadn't broken through yet. But the Earth Spirit Realm. Meng Shan stopped abruptly and wondered. Since he was talking about the Earth Spirit Realm, it was already a level on par with that of an elder. This really pissed Feng off, and he couldn't stand it anymore, and hit his brother on the back of the head. All because he used to be as high as the 9th layer of the Spirit Realm. Meng Shan admitted that he had indeed forgotten about Brother Fei's past glory days. After all, such talents were rare in the Huayang sect for centuries. Now Feng was embarrassed and agreed with his brother. Meng Shan also added that if it wasn't for the evil plans of the families, he would have already been at the peak of the Earth Spirit Realm, and then he would be able to walk proudly beside brother Lin Feng. Feng himself was pissed off that his brother depended on other people. He decided to explain to him that even though he had protected him this time, it didn't mean something would always protect him. Meng Shan felt a bit sad, since with his first layer Spirit Realm, he would most likely not be able to break through to the next realm. He was getting a little sick of it and decided to finally get it all into his head. He started pulling on his cheeks and promised that no matter what happened in the future, he would still make him break through to the Earth Spirit Realm. It was a very sweet moment, and the sibling helped himself to a hug, while crying and not subsiding. Lin Feng didn't want to tolerate this and kicked him. This was already crossing all boundaries, after which they went on their way. In the meantime, Xiai had made it home. He was immediately given first aid and his hand was bandaged. At the same time, he felt very well any touch on his wounded arm. But even more than that, he remembered Feng. He wanted more than anything to find him and tear him to pieces. And until he did, he would not rest. The servant wondered how he wanted revenge after all. Chie wasn't afraid of him. As long as Deng Yuan returns, he won't trust this idiot. But it's still not enough. This idiot dares to hurt his left arm. He starts to freak out just thinking about it. Therefore, other than tearing his body into 1,000 pieces, he had no options. After which, he stood up and turned to Liu Er. He ordered him to go to the inner monastery house where the disciples cultivate in the caves. There, he would be able to find his cousin. His task was to ask him to make the decision for him. Lao immediately went to the mountains to visit his cousin. When he came to Luoshao, he told the whole story and the problem. He didn't know how that idiot Lin Feng suddenly became unusually strong, and he almost killed his younger cousin. But he must help them clarify the decision for them. Luo was also surprised that the lowlife finally had some sanity in his head. Luo supported Luo and added that, though, he's only around the 3rd layer of the spirit realm, but he still dares to bully them. What pissed Luo off the most was that he had developed such a panic about the bastard. He certainly couldn't be afraid of that weakling since he was in the earth spirit realm. Lu wasn't quite in agreement with what he said. Luo looked at him with a fearful look and ordered him not to interfere with his cultivation because of this little thing. He had nothing else to do but just walk away and stay out of his way. For him, the case is just like a flea, nothing to make a fuss about. He really wanted Fen to stay alive and witness how impressive his future master would be. It was much more satisfying than killing him. Meanwhile, another one of the caves was also talking to Lin Feng. Sister Tian was giving advice on how to defeat that idiot Feng, and she was explaining it all to the very girl that Lin Feng had saved. Previously, it was her teacher's refined spiritual potion that she had asked him for so persistently. So, it had to be used wisely. The girl struggled with her conscience, for if it wasn't for him, she would be dead and raped by now. Sister Tian didn't even want to listen to him as the idiot suddenly stopped being a fool. The girl didn't know what she was talking about. Sister Tian explained that all this time he had been pretending to be stupid and blatantly deceiving. This shocked the girl, for she had seen him, and he didn't look like he was faking it. Sister Tian saw how she was too naive. She guessed that he was just pretending because the 5th semi-annual league tournament would be held in 2 years. She saw how much she had loaded her little sister down, so she asked her not to think much about it, and to use all her time to cultivate her skills. Lin Feng, meanwhile, was lying on the lawn and was graced with the view. They lay together with their brother and imagined how they could fly. Lin Feng, meanwhile, decided to inform his brother that he would soon go to train on the Mountain of Beasts. This bothered Meng Shan a bit, for a multitude of outward disciples died in this together in just 1 year. Lin Feng disagreed with him. Since you can't catch a tiger without entering its lair, only there could it surpass itself and become stronger. But only external disciples with a high rank can enter the Beast Mountain for training. Any other disciples who want to go there must apply for permission. But right now, he must become stronger as soon as possible. So he must go to the Mountain of Beasts no matter what. Meng Shan was beginning to think that his brother had finally lost his mind. But he quickly calmed himself down, for a strange disciple can't get permission to enter the Mountain of Beasts. But when he got home, he didn't realize anything. He saw Lin Feng's wooden token, but that was impossible, for he was an outsider disciple after all. Feng only laughed. M reminded him of the saying, "With money you can make the devil spin the millstones." Meng Shan was not happy when he realized he had bribed the right person. Feng thought for a bit and only confirmed his words. Meng Shan immediately threw a tantrum and asked Feng not to do that. It was dangerous, for he could very easily die. Lin Feng was fed up with all the snot, so he just punched him. And to prevent this incident from happening again, he threw him out of the house so that he wouldn't interfere with his cultivation. He didn't quite listen to him, and started knocking on the door and begging to get in. This really pissed Lin Feng off. He was very much annoyed by the whole thing. Even though everything was bugging him, he calmed down and went to cultivate. The path to the Beast Mountain is very dangerous, and he must break through to go there. Except there was a problem. The spiritual power in his body still wasn't enough, and he wondered how he could break through to it. As he drank the water, he remembered his ring. He remembers there was something in his spatial ring. Of course he forgot the pills. When he ate this pill, he immediately felt the power flowing and gathering within him. When he got down to business, all his attempts ended in failure. He was probably relying too much on the pills in helping him break through to the 4th layer of the spirit realm. In order to break through, he needed to practice some more. If he practiced another skill, it could also improve his ability. So he made the decision to study the Heavenly Tree and Wind Key. It was a level 5 martial art. From the looks of it, it seemed quite powerful to him. There are 5 elements of essence in total. Gentle, the spring breeze blows on the surface. Fierce, the heavens fall and the earth fluctuates. All of these are divided into 5 stages of cultivating the wind. Feel the wind, understand the wind, take the wind, follow the wind, and become the wind. When I gain strength, it will become one with the wind. After taking all the pros and cons, he decided to cultivate wind specifically. He utilizes the power of divine knowledge, and then adjusts the body to feel the wind state of the greatest enlightenment, all according to the key of the heavenly tree and wind. Only God knows how to watch the mind and feel the wind. The wind is palpable but invisible, and yet he did it. After a while, he began to see wind everywhere. He was very glad that heavy robotic labor would never be in vain. The key to the heavenly tree and wind is truly amazing. It was already possible to fly for not too long, having only mastered the first stage. The next morning he slept as if nothing had happened, and had sweet dreams. Just as suddenly, a man flew into his room to inform him that Meng Shan was being beaten up by Yangde people. Lin Feng was still sleepy and didn't understand what all the commotion was about. After all, he had cultivated all night yesterday. It took him a couple seconds to realize what he was talking about. He was very angry and wanted to kill them all. At this time, Yang's men were really beating up the little brother badly. Meng Shan didn't understand why they were beating him up and how he had wronged them. No one took him seriously, and everyone just had the urge to keep beating him up. At that moment, he truly realized that he was useless. One of Ian's boys decided to take a really hard shot. He amassed strength in his hand and struck the body with all his might, causing his arm to break a couple ribs. This guy was disgusted with this fat, lowly dog who kept going against him anyway. He was determined to finish him off once and for all, so he gathered the strength of his arm and prepared to kill him. At this moment, the very girl named Eli Miao burst into the battle. Meng Shan didn't understand how she ended up here. But Eli Miao was more curious as to why Tang Jian suddenly decided to subject a member from the general sect. She even assumed that he wasn't afraid of punishment from the sect. Tang Jian only laughed, for after he saw her huge accessories, he decided to tell her his reasons. Li Miao was disgusted at how nasty and dirty he was. Tang Jian decided to go thick, and reminded everyone that he was only at the first layer of the spirit realm. He couldn't be similar to the rest of the common sect. Li Miao remained silent and listened to the bastard intently. During this conversation, Yan himself came in. Tang Dian immediately ran up to him and began to worship him. Yin in turn immediately turned to Li's younger sister, and immediately asked her to go and cultivate with him together. This day Yan really likes to discuss people, and it would be better if she just saved Meng Shan and got the hell out of there. So she lifted up Meng Shan and declared that she wasn't interested in Yan's proposal. The one in turn was of course angry, for he had shown her respect and she had refused it. Meng Shan was of course very grateful, and asked to go on ahead without him, as he didn't want to drag her into this matter. Li Miao was against it after all. She wasn't afraid of those bastards. Yan meanwhile wanted to show his strength to get rid of them. Meng Shan saw Yan running at them and immediately heroically pushed Li Miao aside. Yan only praised him for his idiocy. After all, he certainly didn't want to harm a beautiful girl. He only craved for the blood of the fat one. Meng Shan realized that he wouldn't have time to dodge and didn't know what to do. But of course at the last moment, Lin Fei came to the rescue. If Feng had come a few seconds later, Shan would have turned into a pile of dust. Feng turned to Li Miao and thanked her for protecting his brother. But she didn't see anything wrong with it. After all, they were from the same sect and should support each other. And in that moment, he'd picked up on the fact that her character wasn't so bad. Yan in turn was very angry, and his eyes were covered with a red hue. He failed to kill him last time, but today he came to die himself, after which Yan ordered his guys to finish the bastard off. He was immediately surrounded on different sides, so he couldn't get away. Lin Feng immediately began to think of a plan on how best to proceed. Feng announced to everyone that he would consider his old and new revenge as one. Therefore, no one would go unpunished today. Li Miao began to guess that he was going to show his true strength. To Yan, it was all empty words, so he offered to get down to business and see how capable he was. Since Tang Jian had beaten up Meng Shan the hardest, he decided to start with him. To Tang Jin, this was another piece of trash that he didn't put in seriousness. Tang Jin decided to attack him first, who only had many disadvantages, and Lin Feng grabbed his arm. First, he decided to just twist his arm. He screamed in pain, and everyone else was terrified of his new power. Feng turned around to his brother and asked how many blows that bastard had dealt him. Without thinking long, he guessed about 10 strokes. Feng was glad he was going to need so many punches to have fun. Tang Jian began to roar that he had landed a maximum of 7 or 8 punches, except it didn't bother him, and he wanted to have more and more fun. Tang Jin could barely stand up, and asked Yan for help. Lin Feng of course didn't want to let him go, so he gave him a strong punch, and then sent him straight into the ground with all his might. Yan didn't understand what was going on here since they were both at the 4th layer of the spirit realm, but his strength was much higher. Mengshan was very happy that he had such a wonderful brother. Feng was curious about his wounds, except he didn't think about it. He wanted to thank his brother for saving him somehow. Tang Jian lay unconscious on the ground, and everyone around him was not terrified by his strength. But there were also still guys who believed that if they attacked all together, they would defeat him with ease. A bunch of scum ran towards Feng. He wasn't confused and decided to stun everyone with his needle technique. Everyone fell to the ground unconscious, and he decided to finally move on to Ian, although he didn't know what tricks he used. But his strength was clearly greater than those bastards who were lying on the ground unconscious. In doing so, he wanted to teach him a lesson, namely, that arrogance comes with a price. The two of them began to approach each other quietly and build up strength in their hands. And further, they made contact in close combat. Yan and Lin Feng were left whole and without deep wounds in the end. Yan didn't understand how this fool could have strength on the same level as him. Just as suddenly, they heard some rough voice ordering them to stop. After all, one more fight and they would both be expelled from Huayan's school. It was an important elder who came with the news that in 2 months there would be a selection round to promote a disciple to an outer disciple, so that they definitely wouldn't fight anymore. The elder decided to demonstrate his power, and once again warned them to behave themselves and not to cause him a problem. Lin Feng immediately picked up on the fact that he was an Earth Realm master, which was truly extraordinary. Li Miao, with anxiety in her eyes, watched the unfolding events. Mengshan, who was standing nearby, remained calm, but his gaze was full of attention. At the same time, a pile of corpses lay under their feet. The elder approached Lin Feng and wordlessly asked if he was the same fool that was rumored. Lin Feng, disregarding the insult, calmly confirmed his words. The elder looked at him strangely and surprised, noting that he had a good foundation for improving his skills. Yan, with anger in his eyes, watched the elder praising the other youth, completely ignoring him. Lastly, the elder wished them to continue to study hard, adding that they should not let him come a second time. The three stood there, happy that things had finally been resolved. But Yan was angry and wanted to kill them all. Then they went to the alchemy hall to exchange spiritual medicines. Mengshan, with sadness in his eyes, didn't want to go there, saying that they needed that money to get by. After which, they all poisoned themselves together in Dantan. They went into the premises and were shocked at how big the place was. And they went there to buy medicinal pills. Then some salesmen jumped out and started to chase away these motley students. Mengshan suggested to his brother to go back since they didn't have that many crystals. Lin Feng only laughed at his naivety since he had a bunch of these crystals. He couldn't stand to be treated that way and threw a bag of money in his face, telling him to open his eyes wide. The vendor was very happy to see so many crystals, and wondered when it was that the students had become so generous. Afterwards, he apologized to him and admitted that he was blind. He also took out the best medicinal essence they had, Hui Yuan Dan. It was a guaranteed cure. Li Miao and brother couldn't believe that Lin Feng had found so many crystals to buy the most expensive medicine. When they had already bought up everything, they hit the road, and Mengshan on the way started asking him where he got so many multidimensional crystals from. Lin Feng, of course, didn't want to tell him about it and said that it was a big secret, and so he asked about these crystals all the way through. This annoyed Lin Feng so much that he decided to speed up and fell behind the two to meditate in silence. Heaven and Earth by Xunfeng Jue is actually more than just kung fu. Mengshan still continued to look for him as he was worried about him. In the end, after some time, he did find him after all. Lin Feng jumped down from the tree and scared him. He was very angry that the man kept distracting him. Mengshan took a little breath and asked why the man didn't make a sound. Lin Feng started to get even angrier and shouted in his ear, "Brother, I'm very busy!" Mengshan came to him to tell him the great news. Beast Mountain's application had been approved. This made Lin Feng very happy, as he could finally demonstrate his skills. Afterward, they traveled to Matbatsuyama. It was very crowded, but still it did not embarrass him. He also guessed that there must be a treasure in that dangerous mountain, and that made him want to go there even more. Mengshan started begging him not to leave him and climb such a dangerous mountain. Because Mengshan fell to his knees and started sobbing, the entire crowd turned their attention to them and started looking at the two very suspiciously. Lin Feng noticed all these gazes and quickly pushed Mengshan away from him. After everything, he approached the elder and showed his Beast Mountain token, and he could therefore officially participate. At the same time, the old man also reminded him to return to the merit hall to receive his Jade Test token. However, recently, there was some strange odor in the depths of Beast Mountain. Therefore, he advised him not to go too deep into Beast Mountain with his current strength. Lin Feng became very tense from this information since although he was fearless, the old man was able to scare him. Still, he gathered his courage and went to these monsters. But first, of course, we had to find something edible to eat and fill our stomachs. As he hid in the bushes, he noticed a small white rabbit nearby, said little white rabbit that looked very appetizing. He immediately grabbed it by the ears, and in a few minutes there was a fire ready, and this rabbit was over the fire. As suddenly something more smelled the odor and began to slowly approach this fire. Lin Feng was nibbling the rabbit by both ears and didn't even realize the danger. It was only when the huge monster had already jumped on him that Lin Feng sensed it. It really annoyed Lin Feng that he would have to break away from eating and teach this bull a lesson. Lin Feng calmed down a bit and decided that it was a good time to try Tianda Sun Feng Gui to catch the direction of the wind. He began to quietly remove the sword from the ring. The bull flew into the ground with great speed and made a huge dent in the ground. Afterwards, he ran at Lin Feng to tear him into small pieces. Holding the piece of meat in his mouth, he decided to defeat it with a single strike of his sword. He ended up chopping off a bull's head in a split second, and then he continued to chew on the rabbit, as suddenly he felt something strange inside him. After a few seconds, he started burping as the food was ruined by this stinky pig. He realized he wasn't going to be able to eat dinner, so he decided to deal with those monsters in the area first. He killed all the monsters in a row with ease. Except that while he was killing everything, he noticed how he didn't have a single magic core left. Still, he was glad that he had made the right decision to come to Beast Mountain. In just a few days, he had already reached the 5th level of chi condensation. Standing near the lake, he heard what it was a guy screaming. The guy was running from monsters and asking for help. He managed to run into some woods, and there he tripped over a rock and fell to the ground. The boy, looking at the wolf, thought that today was his time. Lin Feng stood on the tree beside him and wondered how such a useless person could enter the Beast Mountain. Guy cursed that damn hellhound, wishing it a speedy death. He started yelling to the dogs and trying to somehow drive them away by yelling. The dogs stopped and looked at him very strangely. The boy, pointing his finger, shouted that his words were pure truth, and grudgingly asked what their scornful looks meant. Lin Feng had been standing by the side the entire time, and was perplexed by this stupid guy. Whereupon the dogs got tired of looking at him and ran at him. He tried to escape somehow and started jumping and dodging. The guy, with a pleading tone in his voice, tried to calm the hellhound by offering to pretend they had never met. They gathered their strength again and renewed their attack against him. He could only stand there and hope for a miracle. Lin Feng realized that it was his hour, so he quickly jumped down from the tree. Taking out his sword, he chopped down the two monsters, and further approached him and asked him if poking little things could scare him so much. The lad, with tears of gratitude in his eyes, exclaimed that his life had been saved, and expressed his deepest appreciation. The guy, of course, wanted to thank him for it and reached into his sack with his hand. He told him how long and hard he had collected this treasure, and was willing to share it with him. After which he took out a herb and held it out to him. Lin Feng didn't understand this weirdo, and thought that he was just joking. Lin Feng sincerely didn't understand why this fool was so protective of this bag of grass, so much so that he also almost died from it. The lad only saw how the man didn't like the reward, and thought that it wasn't enough for him. Then, he offered to give away all his treasure, hoping it would be enough. Lin Feng only laughed at him. Therefore, he offered him to take the herbs for himself, saying that he would need them. He began to pick out an appetizing piece of meat. After digging into his pocket for a while, he found 2 balls. The guy, looking at the magic core with admiration, exclaimed that it was incredibly strong. He then introduced himself as Chang Hao, and inquired about the name of his new acquaintance. When he received the answer, he wondered why he was not participating in the treasure hunt guarded by a magical monkey. However, when he was rebuffed, he mentioned that the monkey was guarding a valuable fruit. With eyes burning with anticipation, Feng began to calculate the profits from selling the earth spirit fruits without finishing the sentence. Therefore, with a resolute look, declared that he too was going to search for the earth spirit fruit, for such a treasure could not be missed. He climbed up the tree and decided to assess the route. The guy, worriedly warning him, said that the magical ape had already wiped out 2 groups of disciples, and that going alone would be certain death. Lin Feng continued to search for the 2nd-level demonic ape. Chang Hao started yelling to his brother that with their strength, they could only watch the fun. They had to wait for the dragon to come and deal with these 2 demon monkeys. This guy was pestering Lin Feng more and more. Still, he didn't have anything else to do, so he asked the one where the place was. Chang Hao turned to him again and asked him to take another look at the core once more. Lin Feng wanted to hit him, since that was the idea. After which, he threw him 2 level 1 beast cores and told him to take them for himself. Chang Hao was very grateful to him, even though he had hit him directly in the head with the cannonballs. He replied that he could see the place from a few miles to the west. Lin Feng was surprised at how corrupt this guy was. Then he ran away, shouting with joy that he was finally rich. Next, he went by Chang Hao's coordinates directly to the Earth Spirit Fruit Canyon. He was exhausted when he found this canyon. Looking around at the situation around him, he noticed a group of people. This 5 people were going to kill these 2 demonic monkeys. This lineup consisted of Tang Xianxian, Wu Ming, Su Mubai, Yin Jiao, and Zhang Wei. But there was a 6th person missing, and they were waiting for him. Since Zhang Wei suggested going at 5 and not waiting for the 6th person, Wu Ming asked him to stop bragging, for they can only protect themselves if they gather 6 people. Su Mubai disagreed with her, because if the deacon came first and took away the Earth Spirit Fruit, they wouldn't even be able to pick up the leftovers. Tang Xianxian was also in favor of Brother Mu Bai's option. Although she didn't have the strength to hunt with him demonic monkeys, she would definitely cheer. Suddenly Jiaji appeared. He stated that he would listen to Brother Su's instructions. If they can get more Earth Spirit Fruits, it will be great. After gathering their courage, they decided to start the operation after all. Suddenly everyone heard a stranger's voice saying that he was applying to join the monkey hunting team. Tang Xiangqian was surprised how this errand-running disciple had even survived since entering Beast Mountain. Su Mubai laughed loudly at his statement and began to chase him away, not up to his disciple. Lin Feng replied that he was only a humble disciple. Those people didn't even dare to see what he could do. After which, he threw a small pebble at Xianxian to make them calm down a bit. Xianxian approached Brother Su Mubai and asked him to stand up for her after all that bastard had just hit her. Lin Feng didn't like her saying such nasty things. This way, he decided to teach her a lesson, as her upbringing was clearly lame. He's just helping to teach her a lesson. Su Mubai said that he did not intend to waste time on a random student, but since he had made him angry, he would pay for it. Lin Feng, on the other hand, didn't mind warming up a bit. After which, the 2 of them engaged in close combat. Lin Feng doiper that it was no wonder that one was so arrogant. After all, his cultivation level was clearly higher than his own. Gigi stopped them, for there was no use in wasting time here. Because if the battle continued, Deacon's men would arrive first. And hunting demonic monkeys also required maintaining sufficient physical strength. And with the strength they had just demonstrated, they were already eligible to join the monkey hunting team, and asked the others about it. Timin was pleased, for she saw how this man was quite strong and had combat experience and sword skills. Xianxian started to scream and was not satisfied, for he had slapped her a few minutes ago. This ruined Su Mubai's big plan, as now he couldn't do this for all sorts of disciples. But on the other hand, Brother Jiaji's words also made sense. Since everyone agrees, Su will put the overall situation first. Xianxian couldn't believe her brother's words, and even started crying a little. Su explained that the Earth Spirit Fruit was very important to him, and he could not afford any mistakes. Next they left Jianxin there, and then they galloped out of there. The demonic ape guarding the Earth Spirit Fruit is quite close, so everyone must be on guard. After a few minutes, they nailed it in place. But for some reason no one could see the demonic ape, and there were no tracks. Only Lin Feng sensed something wrong. And afterward, he yelled for everyone to be careful since the monster was to their right. Gigi recognized that this monkey had a rather high IQ. Lin Feng managed to grab Wu Ming's hand and ordered everyone to disperse. Gigi wanted to help and decided to control it while the others ran away. But the resistance was enormous and he couldn't control it. Su flew towards him and activated his technique. Except that the monkey easily repelled his technique. Su warned everyone else that this beast was very strong. Lin Feng decided to take the full brunt of the attack and went first to attack him. He was well aware that normal attacks wouldn't do much damage to this demonic ape. Su decided not to wait and took out his first-class spiritual weapon trident. Gigi was injured, but still advised the others not to let this errand-running disciple look down on them, and needed to move together. Those decided to listen to him and attack together. Everyone attacked the monkey and used their opportunities as best they could. This infuriated the monkey and he ran at them. Jesus stood up for the others, and it was just the right opportunity to attack the monkey. Lin Feng and Su simultaneously stuck their weapons straight into the monkey. It was such a good punch that the monkey just fell to the ground without strength. Everyone had already relaxed and wanted to rejoice. except Lin Feng hurriedly upset them by saying that there was another one. Another huge ape had indeed appeared in front of them. Everyone tensed up and began to prepare for another battle. That said, this monkey was many times stronger than he was before. The death of the male monkey seems to have made the situation even crazier. But fortunately, this one was a lower-level female ape. If they could get rid of it in one fell swoop, the Earth Spirit fruit would be theirs. Zhang Wei was the very first to pounce on the monkey. The monkey hit him with ease, and he flew away with great speed. Everyone ran up to him at once, but although he was without strength, he was conscious. Yin Jiao decided to avenge his friend and pounced on her. In a split second, the monkey grabbed him in the arm. He didn't even have time to realize it at first. Gigi began to shout at him, as they were able to kill the demon monkey earlier, because they all cooperated with each other. If they fight alone, they would be defeated. Lin Feng also called him a fool. No matter how weak he is, it is still a demonic ape. Gigi decided to act together and trapped him with his chains. Tai Moon, on the other hand, began attacking with her swords. She activated her wheel battle technique. Su attacked from the other side at the same time as her technique. The monkey began a slow and steady fall. Everyone thought their tactic of working together had worked. In the end, they thought it had, and the monkey became even more fierce. So much so that it dragged Gigi. He started to ask for help as he realized that he could be very sick in a few seconds. Lin Feng ran towards him to save him. It was the perfect opportunity to test how strong he was. He focused all his power on the sword, and then I tore that monkey to pieces. Gigi lay on the ground and was shocked at how strong this guy was. Everyone else stood as well, shocked and in charge of his strength. Now that the demonic ape was dead, it was time to distribute the loot. These two demonic apes should have a second-level beast core. And so Su wondered how they would divide the prey. Since Lin Feng had made a huge contribution to this battle against the monkey, Su offered to give him the core. With that, he turned to the others and asked if the others had any objections. Everyone was a little silent and didn't know what to say to him. But they all agreed to his proposal. Lin Feng was very happy that he didn't even have to scare and threaten anyone. And everyone gave it up voluntarily by themselves as it was. After which, Su asked Lin Feng to pick him up himself. Walking over there, he couldn't believe that Su Mubai would be so generous. After all, 2 second-level magic cores were worth many spirit stones. Walking over there, he almost threw up. That dead monkey stank really bad. Su Mubai also said that the Earth Spirit Fruit is only 1 kilometer away. To avoid accidents, he suggested that they heal their wounds first. Everyone supported him because it made a lot of sense. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Su ran up to Yinqian with great speed and punched him in the chest, and immediately thrust his trident into the thug. These two just plain died as they lost a tremendous amount of blood. Thus, 2 fewer people would be able to take the Earth Spirit Fruit. And after that, he went to see Timing and Gigi. Gigi was terrified as he realized that he had lost his mind and wanted to take the Earth Spirit Fruit for himself. Gigi didn't even have time to scream in pain, and Su cut off his head in front of everyone. There were only 2 of them left. Lin Feng, meanwhile, had just found just all the spirit stones, and didn't see what was happening nearby. Su ran at Timin to kill her too. She was very lost, and didn't know what to do, because her friends had just been killed in front of her eyes. Still, she gathered her thoughts, and activated the colorful cover technique at the last moment. Su, although he was strong, he was unable to break through her defense. Meanwhile, Lin Feng had just returned and started shouting about what the hell had happened here. Timing started shouting that he was plotting to take the Earth Spirit Fruit and kill them all, so that there would be no competition. Su got a lot of laughs from this kindergarten. He mentioned that entering this mountain of beasts wasn't just battles with monsters, but also battles with other people. Lin Feng admitted that he had been very careless, and this guy must have retained his strength from hunting monkeys. Therefore, he couldn't fight him face to face yet. He wasn't his equal yet. He thought of nothing better than to attack first. In doing so, I used the technique of the Needle of Divine Consciousness. Su didn't understand what the hell was going on, and only noticed small particles of lightning around him. Whereupon he cried out loudly in pain. They continued to fight, and Timing felt very anxious and held her fists for Lin Feng. Lin Feng found it very difficult as Su was too fast even for him. There was only one thing that pleased him, and that was that there was an Earth Spirit Fruit ahead of them. He certainly wanted to take it before Su Mubai did. When he nailed it there, he was shocked at how much Earth Spirit Fruit there was, and was already calculating in his head how much he had earned after all. Lin Feng had already started reaching for the fruit. Suddenly, Su appeared nearby and didn't want to give him the fruit. He wanted to take absolutely all the fruit for himself. Lin Feng laughed at him, as the treasures of the world before him belonged to those who were destined to obtain them. At the same time, he declared that he was not afraid of him. This statement really pissed Su off. and he flew at him with all his strength to finally finish this matter. This was a desperate position. And so Lin Feng picked up a lot of fruits in his hands, and firstly put them all into his cosmic face. At the last moment, he still managed to jump, and Su flew into the ground with great speed, making a huge mist of dust through which nothing could be seen. From that point on, he started to get a little worried after all. But he didn't back down from his tactic of pissing him off, and called him worse than pigs and dogs because he kills his fellow students. His tactics worked perfectly, and he had finally angered Su. Even the veins on his forehead could be seen, though Su knows how that one flies in the air. But even so, he can make it. With his current power, he's still a bit hard to deal with. Since he had already obtained the Earth Spirit Fruit, he decided to leave. He finally used the Divine Consciousness Needle technique. It was another strange move from him, and it was starting to give Su a headache. This alone was still not enough to escape Sumubai's pursuit. Therefore, he had to urgently think of other ways. As he flew and came up with a plan, he noticed something very incomprehensible. He saw a real dragon in front of him and Su laughing like a lunatic. Lin Feng didn't give the appearance that he was uncomfortable, so he started laughing for cover. Only this time Su was already prepared, and expected some trick from him again. Lin Feng didn't wait for him, and pierced through the dragon skin with his sword. This was a turn he clearly hadn't expected. The dragon woke up from the pain, of course, and started screaming. The dragon was very angry and started hissing. Su realized that he had been specifically tricked. Sumubai remembered for the rest of his life the offense against him, and swore that he would fight him to the death. Meanwhile, not far from these mountains, a group of 3 people tore down a poster of a man wanted by Sumubai, the 5th-ranking man in the outer sect. It says whoever finds it will be rewarded with 500 crystal stones, dead or alive. And of course, the poster had Lin Feng's face on it. Lin Feng, when he finally got to a safe distance, counted the amount of earth spirit fruits he had found, anticipating a huge profit. He decided to try out at least one fruit and threw it into his mouth. In a moment, his face turned red and tears began to flow from his eyes. Everything inside him was burning and it hurt a lot. The qi inside the fetus was too fierce, and you need to channel the qi well to digest it. After a while, the qi inside his body has already slowly calmed down. Using this qi, he can practice well. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, the fighting did not subside. The bird monster, threatening the magical monkey, demanded to give up the treasure, promising to spare her, otherwise threatened to attack altogether. The magical ape grinned and asked if they would really let her go if she gave up the treasure, and stated that the treasure from the tomb did not belong to them. Ape thought that a fight 1 against 3 was disadvantageous to her, but she was determined to protect the treasure, and it was a risk she had to take. The bird stated that the treasure was already inside the old monkey and asked when they were going to attack. She also added that after killing the monkey, they would decide how to divide the treasure. The lion, agreeing with the bird, said that as long as the monkey had the treasure, they had no chance. The magical ape, with a chuckle, was surprised that her enemies, who had always been feuding, had united for the treasure. But even if she couldn't escape, she would destroy the treasure with flames. The bird laughed, for he does not believe the monkey would dare destroy the treasure, knowing its greed. The bird flapped its wings and said to act quickly and decisively to give the monkey no time to think. And then the magic of the arts began. A flying dragon has also joined the game. All around, the earth shook as if there was an earthquake. And also the earth around was rising into the air in cubes from such a powerful force. This huge explosion was visible from far away. 2 guys who were within a 100-kilometer radius were in a panic, screamed when they heard a loud explosion in the mountains, and wondered what had happened there. Lin Feng, sitting in the lotus posture, thought with annoyance that after breaking through to the 6th level of qi, some cattle dared to make noise above his head. He looked around a bit and realized it wasn't safe in the cave, so he decided to go outside to check things out. Going outside, he started looking for the cause of the big earthquake. Lin Fei, looking at the thick smoke, didn't see anything. Meanwhile, a message from Xiaotian had already appeared. I am Xiang Xiaotian, the head of Huayan School. There has been a change in the Dahuang mountain range. The students of my school must leave the Beast Mountain immediately. Those who violate the order will be expelled from the school. The magical ape survived, though he was injured and lost an arm. Looking at the enemies, he realized that there was clearly no way to avoid disaster. Monkey realized that she would have to make a very hard choice, but even if he died, he vowed that he would not let them off easy. The bird saw the true flame of Samadhi and began to shout to the others to leave, for this monkey wanted to blow up his body. After which, 1,000,000 little flaming pieces of flame began to fly out in all directions. With that, one could see a very fast silhouette in such a small piece of flame. The bird spotted this silhouette and ordered the others to pursue it. Lin Feng was very much in shock at the strength and what was even happening in these mountains. As he stood and watched, the effects of the explosion spread to the neighborhood near him. The other people in this forest, looking at the destruction around them, thought it was better to get out of here soon. Lin Feng decided not to be different from the others, and also decided to leave there, even though he was upset that he couldn't continue earning money. As he was running away, he saw a strange fireball flying straight at him. He thought it was clearly a dangerous thing and decided to stay away. The monkey hovering in the air thought it urgently needed to find a body to hide its presence, and decided to take possession of the body of the guy walking ahead. This damn thing chases him further, and with automatic homing as well. He managed to dodge the ball at the last moment. This only made the monkey like it even more. In the end, this ball didn't make it to the ground in time, and turned 180 degrees again at Lin Feng. Now he was beginning to panic hard about his life as he saw the huge ball bearing right into him. In the end, the monkey did get into his body. Lin Feng was unconscious and was only slightly glowing with a red light. It was somewhere near evening when he woke up and went home. Meng Shan sat on the steps at home and was very worried about his little brother. Meng Shan thought that if that person didn't have a problem with his head, he wouldn't have gone to the Beast Mountain as a low-ranked disciple just to die. He made a grave for his brother right outside the house, and sobbing began to memorialize him. Suddenly, a human silhouette began to be seen in the distance. Meng Shan didn't notice Lin Feng sneaking up and continued to pray to his brother. Lin Feng approached the tomb and was shocked to see his name on the plaque. It really freaked him out and pissed him off. Therefore, without restraining his strength, Lin Feng kicked his brother right in the face. At the same time, he told him to open his eyes and see who was standing in front of him. Meng Shan was very, very happy even though he had been hit. He fell to his knees, and Lin Feng started yelling at him and warned him not to do it again. Meng Shan immediately escorted him into the house and started bringing him a lot of food. He started to tell when the time came, he would sell the beast cores they would get and could earn about 1,000 yuan stones. Meng Shan was shocked by such a figure and further continued to kiss his feet and brother's feet. And because his brother met him and treated him to a delicious meal, he threw him a sackcloth. He only advised not to spend it all at once, but to save a little and buy the things you need. Meng Shan was overjoyed and grateful, and his eyes glistened. Lin Feng asked him to stop behaving immaturely and would rather take care of his brother and bring him something else tasty. Joyfully humming a song, he went to get food. It was only then that he remembered some red light hitting him during the day. Although his body didn't seem unusual after waking up, he still felt vaguely uneasy. He decided not to think about it for the time being, but to do something more useful like meditating. As he tried to meditate, for some reason his true Qi couldn't come together, and he didn't understand what was going on. When he woke up the next morning, he still didn't understand what was going on. He felt like he was drained. He decided to take out the spare fruits of the earth spirits from the ring to replenish the spiritual energy. Otherwise, the drops in development level, it was no joke. He began to eat them, though they tasted like very hot peppers, but he tolerated them for the sake of spiritual meditation. Lin Feng, relieved and happy, thought that he had escaped mortal danger as he suddenly received a surge of spiritual energy, although he had originally feared a lack of it. And then, with a look of horror on his face, he thought there were sounds in his stomach, and wondered if he was pregnant. After all these procedures, he decided to try meditating again. Hovering in the sky, he sensed the presence of another's aura, and located it to his left. As he flew forward a little, he saw a monkey. The monkey, looking at the guy in surprise, thought that he was able to save her life by using such cheap fruits of the spirits of the earth. Lin Feng thought that the earth spirit fruits that he had obtained with such difficulty were called cheap by her, and assumed that she was the red light that had stunned him earlier. So he asked the monkey what she was and why she was inside him. The monkey replied that the guy didn't need to know who she was, but he should consider himself lucky. The monkey, with a threatening look, told the guy that his body was about to be sacrificed to her, and it would be the most rewarding day of his life that he should remember. Lin Feng in turn told the monkey that he didn't care who she was and ordered her to get out immediately, or else he wouldn't be ceremonious. The monkey, looking at the guy, laughed as he was just a pathetic bug with 6th level qi, and it could kill tens of thousands like him with a single exhalation. Lin Feng decided not to just give up, and wanted to teach the monkey a lesson. He used his technique and stuck his needle in him. Lin Feng clearly saw the needle pass through his body, and when I looked closely, I didn't see a scratch. He didn't understand how this could even be possible. The monkey told him that although she only had a measly earth-level cultivation left, she was still not someone a bug could understand. and decided to send the guy on his way since he was in such a hurry. The one, horrified to think that the monkey had disappeared, assumed that it was trying to take over his mind. Monkey, on the other hand, thought that he was kind of strange, since he had such a powerful spiritual power, even though he was only at the chi condensation level. When Lin Feng saw her, he was overjoyed as he decided to use all his spiritual power. The monkey, though, knows where he got such a sea of consciousness from. Given his level of chi condensation, she would soon find out. In a split second, he was in front of her muzzle and punched her right in the face. After which, Lin Feng grabbed the monkey's head, asking why it wasn't trying to kill him with a single exhalation as it had intended earlier. The monkey, on the other hand, didn't believe that this was possible, because the strength of his consciousness was comparable to that of a Zhuan-level expert, even though he was just a pathetic little bug. After which, he calmed down a bit, as he thought that she couldn't do anything bad to his consciousness. She was a great battle-sacred ape, and would not have been defeated by the pathetic ant if not for her ruined body and severely damaged soul after using the secret technique.